of rates.
Hey, Rick.
Hey, Megan.
Well, we have a hot topic today. It is your
Hmm.
favorite thing to discuss, I know from experience. And that is when we have a new buyer and they're
Hmm.
shopping for a house and they ask you, what is the rate? What's the interest rate? What's the rate? What rate can you give me? I'm not committing to anything until I have a rate when they don't even have a house. So, Rick, what's the rate? What's the appropriate question? How do rates get locked? When do you lock rates? What's the scoop? Give us the lowdown on this.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's a hot topic now because the last couple of months, the market has been so darn volatile,
Mm,
and unreasonably volatile. And what I mean by that is we could see from a Monday to a Friday a 0.5% increase in rates.
mm-hmm.
And but darn it, it's like we all want the lowest rate. We're all motivated by lower rates, but Uh, so when we open escrow, by the way, what the rate is before you open escrow is meaningless. I
Right.
could quote 2% without a house. You don't 2% doesn't mean anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's important is that when you open escrow, there's some longer term thinking here though too, Megan. So, but when you open escrow, here's the big question: do we float or do we lock?
Mm-hmm.
Now, look, if we lock the rate, that means your rate is locked, the rate is committed, and no matter what happens in the market, rates go up, rates go down, you're getting the rate that you locked.
Mm-hmm.
The number two choice is float. And so what does that mean? Well, that means that we're going to not lock the rate, and we're going to essentially kind of play the market a little bit here. Okay, so you're going to bet that the rates will go down a little bit, and they oftentimes do during the course of an escrow because it's the ebb and flow of the market. So if we're going to float, we're going to float that out for a little bit. And then I'm going to watch when I see a dip in the market over the period of the next couple or so weeks. That's when we're going to lock.
Mm-hmm.
The risk, however, is that the rates could still keep going up
Mm.
if you're floating. But
I mean,
but it's always a
didn't you
catch,
say today that the rates have gone up 10 days straight?
something like that. And they
Yeah.
sometimes twice, 2 and 3 times in one day, we get mid morning and midday rate changes for the worst, which is a horribly volatile market. And
Mm.
so it's only human nature to want to get the best rate, but it's like chasing the stock market or timing the
Mm-hmm.
stock market. It's not a game you can really win because the markets can be volatile. And I wish I could tell you I had some control over what those rates do. I have some indicators about what the rates will do based on data that's available and commentary and so on. But I will tell you that in the last few weeks, the commentary, the data has meant nothing to this market.
Mm-hmm.
We've had days where there's no news, no data, and the market crashes.
Mm-hmm.
No explanation whatsoever. So in this market, we've got to be very, very careful about this. And you don't want to chase the rate. The important thing we've talked about this a lot. The important thing is get the house.
Mm-hmm.
We'll manage the rate, but get the house.
Mm-hmm.
And we're pretty certain at this stage that sometime, in the next 12 to 18 months after you close escrow, there's going to be plenty of opportunity to lower that rate and a refinance.
Mm-hmm.
But the
Yeah.
important thing is getting the house. I don't want to, gosh, I wish there was an easy answer to this. I mean, in an easy world, the rates would stay the same all the time or very flat, very stable. But the market right now is not stable on rates. It is very, very volatile. And so you just got to be mindful of that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge difference in rates again. I mean, come on, but I know that
Hmm.
you sit there and, you're watching the market all day
Hmm.
long, and that I know when we bought our last place, I just said, all right, Rick, you do your thing because it's a certain finesse to know when to lock the rate and
Hmm.
when
Hmm.
things could get a hair better or a hair worse or
Hmm.
a 3/4 of a point worse. I mean, God only
Hmm.
knows, but like we say, find the house and do what you got to do to get the house, because
Hmm.
still this week, hot houses, we've got a client right now that's looking at $1 million house. And I told them, I said, we've been looking at houses for 2 years. So
Hmm.
everybody else is looking at this house too. I mean, the house is probably going to sell even with the rates like this, 60 to 100,000 over asking, just
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
there's not very many of them. So you just don't want to get caught in not understanding the process when we're spending this much money and it's your
Right.
house. It's very emotional and it's exhausting. So that's why it's really important to have people that, know what they're doing to help you. And that brings me to
Right.
something else.
Hmm.
I've been trying to think about how to talk about this. Um, I don't, have a perfect solution, but my point this week with this, rate locking and the finesse and knowing the market and knowing what trends to look for, and then going for the rate lock is something that you have developed over the last, 40 years or however long it's been,
Hmm.
forever that you've been a loan officer in the mortgage business. And, that's not something that somebody, God bless him, that has done refinances for the last 4 years knows anything about, or who's
Yep.
sitting in the call center taking calls. And I'm sure they're wonderful at their job, and I'm not dissing anybody, but there's a difference. We're not the same.
Right.
I'm the same as a realtor who does 3 or 4 transactions a year based off their referrals at work. I am not the same as you. I do this
Hmm.
every
Hmm.
day, all day long. I'm in the trenches. I know what's going on. I've seen every scenario known to man. I've had every
You
problem
have.
known to man. And so we are not the same. I am getting pummeled by these couple of realtors that I am blessed to have business with recently that do 2 or 3 sales a year.
Hmm.
And they put these houses up for sale. And I have the buyers for them. And I had a realtor tell me yesterday that I was highly mistaken about something.
I
And I
just love
know that
that.
I'm not highly mistaken. It's like, we're
And
week
he's, yeah.
we're week 3, and he's like serving me a notice to perform with a 24-hour turnaround, which is not
Yeah.
gonna, not, the contract says 48 hours. It's on the contract. And then he's giving
Yeah.
me my statutory disclosures. He's supposed to give them to me in 7 days. It's day 21 and he's still trickling them over. It's because he has another
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
He
This
has
is a
another
guy that's got
job.
another job that's probably sold one house in the past 12 months. He thinks he's going to
He
school
hasn't sold
you
the
and how the
house.
business
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. He's like,
I
I've been in the
love that.
business 20 years. You're not in the business. You're doing
Yeah.
side jobs, and now you're lucky to have me on the other side, because I'll tell you, if somebody didn't know what was going on here, this would have gone south, and it
Hmm.
would not be a good experience for the buyer or the seller before, during, or after the escrow.
Correct.
So anyway.
And by the way, I'm seeing that a lot right now. You and I both are seeing that a lot. I have a lot of transactions as well, and I deal with other agents. And yeah, as you all know, I'm so thankful when you and I get to work together because
Yeah.
we really get it and understand it. And we have a very high success rate because of that. But so often I'm involved in transactions where the other agent, or sometimes I deal with a lender on a cross call where it is a mess. And
Mm,
darn, I just I can't educate everybody how things work to help them save their own transaction. I can only do
right.
so much, right?
Right.
But it is alarming right now because I'm seeing that for the most part, on both sides, lending and real estate, there's not a high level of skill set or expertise right now.
It's really bad. I don't think I've ever
Yeah,
seen it this bad before. I mean,
I haven't either.
even explaining, I had another agent who was hell bent um on a certain something showing up on a title report, and I said, it's not on the title report, it's a fixture that's attached to the house that's paid off by the seller. There's no lien. It wouldn't be on the title report, for God's sakes, man.
Mhm.
There's no money owed, there's no.
Right,
And I mean, I'm talking like days of going back and forth with this. And then the agent sort of passive aggressive, not answering me now because they're all ticked off about not being right. And it's like, who cares? Take your ego, crumple it up in a little ball, throw it away, get the job done, and get these people in their
right.
house and move on.
Yeah,
I mean, what
exactly.
is the deal? Oh my gosh. I finally told that agent, I said, listen, please go talk to your manager about this. Like you said, and I told escrow, we're done explaining this. We've said it 57 times since Sunday. he's got to go and educate himself. I just can't take it anymore. So, well, this will be interesting to see what happens in this market with all this shenanigans going on with the realtors. And yeah, whenever I see a professional realtor, I do thank the shiny stars above, because I know we're going to understand what we're doing. So, and I
Makes it
appreciate and
nice.
understand what you're doing too. And I know, like I said, when we bought our place last year, or no, was it last year? No, it was this year. It was
Yeah, it was
it
this
was the
year, I think.
beginning of the year. Yeah.
Beginning earlier in the year. Yeah.
Beginning of the year. I was like, you know, the rates then were about 6.5, and I was like, son of a gun. I was so
I
mad
know,
because
right? I
yeah, we
know.
didn't find anything when they were 3. We didn't find anything when they were 4, and we're just sitting there going, when is this going to break? And we finally found something, and damn if it wasn't 6.5%. And I was like, so I was
Yeah,
like, it
right.
is what it is. But Rick, you lock it, you know, I think we got a little less than that, but it's like,
Yeah.
now look at it. Rates are
Well, that's the
8%.
best deal in
Or
town right now. That's the
I
best deal in
know,
town. But that's a
I
perfect
know.
example about why not to time the market. Because you could have
Right.
said, oh, 6.5. No, when the rates get to 5 7/8, I'll pull the trigger.
No,
Well,
it never
we're not
happened.
anywhere close to that. And
Yep.
by the way, that your house has gone up in value quite a bit since
Right.
you bought that, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
buyers that think they can time the market, that their next door neighbor said, "Oh yeah, wait, because this is gonna happen in whatever date they have in their head,"
Right.
and it's just not going to happen that way. It's just
Nope.
not.
Mm-mm. No.
Good point.
So, Rick, I appreciate you and your
Appreciate you.
professionalism. And I just want buyers to, you know, when you call somebody and you say, "What's the rate?" right away. Like sometimes people will call me and they'll say, "Well, what do you charge for a commission?" Like a seller, you know. And it's
Mhm.
like, can we have a conversation about how this works? You know, but I can
Exactly.
already tell that those kind of people that are just focused on that, and they don't see the whole picture or what's going on. It's like, well, we're probably not going to be a match anyway. But you know, I want people who are willing to understand how things work and to work with
Mhm.
us, and so they can make the best educated decision for themselves, right?
Exactly right. Good point.
All right. Thanks, Rick. I appreciate you, and we'll
Thank
see
you,
you next
Megan.
week.
Appreciate you. See you next week. Take
Okay.
care.
Bye.
Bye.